So today for Floral Friday, I'm giving you a glimpse into a Patreon tutorial that I did a few years ago. If you notice when you watch the tutorial that my palette is completely different now. And that's because evolution of things. It's like a 3D, see that? 3D floral, poppies, ranunculus, wonderful. And Patrons get a traceable and reference photo with this. I'm going to attach some reference photos that can be kind of similar but not the same. If you want to be a Patreon member, this is a glimpse into how the Patreon tutorials are. And then you can click the link in the description box, join and cancel anytime. And so I wanted to give you a freebie, see what it's like. And you can access to the Patreon weekly exclusives that are like from years ago. All the exclusives, all the other stuff. You don't just get the exclusives when you start. So check out the glimpse into this. So if you join the Patreon, you get the reference photo and the traceable like I show you here. But in this video, you can just kind of follow along with me painting the flowers and kind of get a feel for how I do it. So, check it out. Yeah, I have a traceable that goes with this, but it's just to help out, if you have difficulty kind of drawing out the flowers. But I really suggest just painting them without having to draw everything all the time. Sometimes it's fun just to paint them also. It's a little more loose. It's a little bit more loose that way, but, you can always draw it. And I took out the ranunculus here and here, and I added the poppies from this one here. So combining like different bouquets that I found on Pinterest, which are kind of fun. I'm not going to be using all this, and adding some different things, and I'm not going to show all this stuff. I did like these little, I don't know if they were, they're not really oranges, whatever they are. This one looks like this lilacs here, so I put the purple down here, whatnot. So I've got this video on an angle so you can see it better. We'll be using Arch 100% cotton cold press. This is a 9x12 piece of paper on the pad. I'll be playing with my Princeton 8 round, my Princeton 8 long round, and an 8 filbert brush. And this is a fun little experiment that I've decided to try. I'm going to working on some of these cool like 3D kind of things. So take the two flowers here and here, whatever flowers you want. They could be the ranunculus or the poppies that I've had out here. And find some scraps that you have of the same paper. And we're going to paint these first. I'll let them dry. And we're just going to paint the background, then I'll talk about what we're going to do these later. So I have paper towels, water jars up here. I mixed up some yellow and some greens already. Just using the 50-50 or a little bit more yellow for the peacock and the cadmium yellow deep with the green here, and then the same green I put over here, but added some Prussian blue that's up here. And for the flowers, I'm gonna put this paper away for now. I'm gonna take the little flowers. Can make them pink colors like you see in the palette. You guys can change it up too. So I'm gonna be using this color called cadmium red light, and they don't have to be pink flowers, by the way. But I'm gonna add a little magenta to that. Look at that. And I'll add a little yellow to it too. So it's a little blush tone. I'll put some over here too. And add a little more magenta, a little more pink. And we can water those down. See, by adding more water, look how lighter it is. So it's really loose. Paper towel is close by to tap. And this color, I'm adding more water. We want it really light. So I have my pencil lines in here, just for my guide. And also, I do want to have some yellow. I'll put that up here. So we have much room in this palette for everything. And I'm going to add a little burnt umber to the yellow over here. I'll grab my yellow. Okay, so it's like a golden yellow. And we're going to start off by doing the yellow center first. And it's a kind of yellow green, so we're going to be playing back and forth with these. So I'll add just a little yellow in the center. The poppies have these little lines that come out. See, I'm just kind of like this, little lines and little dots in the end. And grab my bright yellow to do this. You could also, if you wanted to, I'm just going to grab this. You can see here, I'm going to paint the yellow right in the center. I left a little white in there, as you can see. And then I can go back in with my yellow. I don't know why this brown is so dirty. Okay, now that's more yellow. See how I grab that? It's very, very thick. It's like almost like milk consistency. And making these little lines with my tip of my brush, kind of going outward. And on the edge here. When this dries, we can go and add more of the lines that are golden. And you can tippy tap. Well, it's still a little bit wet. If you want to put in a little of this green, I might add a little more yellow. This green right here. See, consistency is like cream. Tap. Add a little green in here. I'm just kind of bleeding it while it's still damp. Just like that. See if I zoom in now, you can see better. And we'll wait till that dries and we'll go in and add some more of those the stamens that come out with the little dots. So now we're going to add in our pretty blushy kind of pink color that we mix up over here. I always tap off the excess water. And we're just going to kind of like go like this, wiggle it in those lines that we made. Trying not to touch this part. Right? Going around every single area here. Going back and adding some more paint. Just kind of washing in that pretty color. Now you're going to do this with the poppies. I don't want to show you every single poppy. I'm just showing you these ones. Once I show you these, how to paint these, you can paint the rest of them. You don't need me to show you every single poppy. So just fill in the color. And at this point, we do want this to dry. We're not going to do a bleeding wet on wet with this scenario. We're going to let this dry. You could bleed a little kind of color on the ends, like that deeper blush. If you wanted to, just a little bit touching. See, I'm just touching the ends, grabbing some of the darker tone. And on the sides here, just a little bit. But I don't want a lot of wet on wet on this flower. I want to add more hard lines. We're doing a different technique. See how I'm grabbing this dark. This is really like tea, watery tea, a little bit more like coffee. And I'll take the tip of this brush. And see how it's bleeding? I really just want more of a hard edge, but I'm going to put some color in, just a little bit. Okay? And that's how we start off to do that particular poppy. And we'll do another one with this one. This color can be more orange tones. So I think the orange is pretty. I like the colors that were like blush, pink, orange. So I could just take this red light again, grab some yellow, make some nice bright orange. Look at that. We can do the center again and the yellow tones, the little green. See, I'm just kind of filling that in. It's still very wet. Grab a little of this pretty green. It's just like a chartreusey kind of green. Kind of bleed that. Tap my paper towel. And we'll do the same thing. This one's a little bit brighter, but that's okay. It could be darker than the first one. It doesn't have to be pale. Make this one a little bit darker. And try not to go dark too fast, because then you can't come back from it. You really can't. It's much more difficult. Try and get in here as fast as you can. See? I think by now the other one should be dry. We can go back in and finagle that. So I just see how you just sketch these outline of like a nice pretty poppy. You fill in that first wash of color. Oh my goodness, sorry you weren't seeing that. This one's dry now. Now we're going to go back in and add even more deeper color. So I've grabbed that red again with magenta. Red, magenta, pretty color. Gonna water it down. And I always like kind of tap it on the paper towel. Get off the excess water. I can feel it's still a little damp, but we can work with it. So here, we're gonna take this. I'm gonna start to touch the edge, the outer edge of the flower. I'm tapping again because it's a lot of paint. Just kind of making this a little bit darker than I wanted. So I might grab my brush back in the water jar, and then tap on the paper towel again, remove the excess paint. See how I'm just kind of like this, kind of make those little lines. You can work with the dark one that we just did. Now I wouldn't do lines everywhere, and you can put more of a color. See how I'm kind of adding more color right there. This one will be peeking under here, get a little bit darker, right? And this one's really darker under here, so get an even darker color. And then add some lines. Trying to water this down. It's a little too much. I don't want it to be too much, but you understand what I'm saying here. I'm adding the little lines again. Just do little skinny ones. You can start from the center, go outward if that's easier for you. Play around with both. And that's what you're going to be doing with the orange one also. Grabbing the darker color again. It's getting to be a little bit more red, a little more pink. Getting a little bit darker on this petal. And if those petals are darker, we're going to have to add even darker still color on there, doing the same thing. See, you get the three values going in here. Light, medium, and dark. Just do a couple little swaths right there. Still want to keep this light and get a little bit darker in here. Again. Now the opposite of red is green. So I can take a little bit of this green on the tip of my brush, just a teeny bit, see? Teeny bit in the paper towel. If you want to make it a little brown. See? The shade. See how that got darker? It's a shadow. Boom! So now our yellow green mixture is dried. I mean, we can go back in again. Gonna add a little brown to this and put in those little lines we talked about. We can make them even more green too. See? And then the center has a little green center. You can make it even darker still if you wanted to. So I had that medium green, and then I can add a little bit of dark green on the bottom right hand side. Right? And we can add a green dots going around. We have a pretty poppy. Puppies! And I'll grab the brown. Just kind of like, see, I don't put lines everywhere. You want to kind of just sporadically put them around and do the little dots. And you can grab some of the yellow concentrated. Boom. On the tip of your brush. And kind of, when that's dry, go back in, and it's really kind of wet still. You can kind of put that yellow right on top. Be like a nice little accent. So that's how you would paint the puppy. You see that? If you want to get a little bit darker, you know, you can get a little bit more darker. I wouldn't go too crazy. It's still a little damp, but you see, a couple of little lines. Just adds a little more interest. See, I'm just doing a little bit, not that much, not going too wild. It makes it pretty. And that's how you create them. Just take your time, building layers on them. We'll do the same thing with the orange one. I'm not going to show you that, so I just show you the poppy one, the pink one, so we'll come back to that. So once we finish those poppies, we'll put them aside, and we're going to go to our main drawing here. So you can, just for this where the poppies were that we just painted, I would just take the pink one and just kind of like wash in really loosely. It could be dark, it could be light. Just where the pink is. Don't worry about painting all the fun lines and whatnot. I'm going to show you why. It doesn't really matter. Or if you didn't want to do what I'm doing, you can just paint the poppy like I just did. you know, leaving that center, doing all that fun stuff. And then the same thing with the orange one. Again, leaving the center. I'm still using my number 8 round brush, by the way. I haven't switched to the number 8 long round. I kind of like the roundedness of this brush. And I got it. I actually ordered it by accident, and it's a happy accident. Sometimes that happens like that, right? We love happy accidents. Okay, so I'm just going to fill that color in. Now, we need some orange for our little other things we're going to be painting. And like, you don't have to do this little orange. I don't even know what they are. Are they kumquats? Are they little decorative things? They're just cute. I just like the colors. So I'm just going to wash in real quickly. Can leave a little halo in the white right here where they're going to be placed. And I can make it a little brighter. See, just quickly, just kind of loosely putting in those orange. I'm going to say they're oranges, but see, just kind of, I've already given you the trace for that. Just kind of place them around. This is another poppy here. Now, it can be pink, the orange, but I think I might make a yellow kind of poppy color. So I'm going to go in here and make a nice bright yellow poppy. Why not? Just put, it's pretty bright, so I'm just going to wash in this bright yellow. And then I can add in the same kind of lines and values that I did with the orange and the pink one. And I think this one here, this is a poppy on its side. We can make like a pinky poppy one again. So it's upside down on its side. I'm just moving it. You can just see how I'm just moving the brush up and back like this. Take the little wiggle, 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 leave a little space. And you get like a nice floppy poppy. And I'm just going to go in here with the brush and fill in the inside petal. Ah. Now I had ranunculus over here. That's how you say it. You can see it in the picture. There's a blush one, there's another blush one. You can make a blush one, you can make a pink one, whatever color. Let's just see if we can play around with the pink and blush color tones. So I've mixed like the yellows, the pinks, the magenta, making blush. And we're just going to make these little swoopy lines like this. See? Swoop, swoop, swoop. Can leave a little white space going around in circles, leaving little, almost like little dashes. And in those white spaces, we'll leave some of it white, and we'll go back in and we'll add some more tones, more values. See, I'm getting a little bit darker with my color. We can kind of bleed in some of that darker tone. Maybe it's a little too pinky. I'll bleed a little bit in, but I am going to wait till it dries and go back in and add the color. And then the other one can be any color you want. It can be the same thing, maybe a little bit darker. I have this magenta over here. I'm mixing them with the colors again. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit darker. Why not? See how it's very wet? And a bug decided to fly into my painting. Goodbye, bug. Same thing. I'm just going to go like this, making these little rounded marks. Really loose, guys. Still using the number 8. Little dash lines. There we go. Now at this point, you can play around with, there was another poppy up here. That could be orange. There was one up here. It was an orange. I did like the one that was orange up here. So I'm just going to loosely water down my orange and put this color in here just so I get a placement of where it goes. And I'll go back in and add the same values that we did with the one I showed in the beginning. And then same thing, I'll add another orange poppy kind of here, maybe a little bit darker orange. Play around with the colors of each poppy and see how I didn't go all the way around like the circle. I'm doing a little half, like it's on its side. Now it's fairly wet, So I have to let that one dry. Now at this point, I drew in some little lilacs for you guys, but I also, on my own painting, I wanted to add a little more pink, a little more, you know, different types of flowers. So I'm going to grab this magenta, water down, some color in here, and I'm just going to put this, see, I'm just wiggling the paint, kind of connecting them, leaving a little space in between, very loose. You don't have to make flowers complicated. These aren't even flowers that are in the picture. These are flowers that I decided to create. And see, I add a couple of little kind of broken ones here. And that's how you would do that. And I kind of want to coordinate them over here. Maybe I make them a little bit darker or not. Again, just see I'm like wiggling the paint. I have drawn in little pencil marks, but it doesn't really matter. You don't need to do that. You can do real round circles. See, I did some round circles with that. Now we're going to play around with the greens. I do want to make this green that I have lighter. That's a nice bright green that we have. Now we could stick with this brush for a little bit if you want to just do the stems with it. See, I'm adding the green to the stem. Oop, that one got in there, but that's okay if it bleeds. But I want to play around with a different brush. So you can do a nice pointy leaf, simple. Some of these leaves have more turquoise in them. So I'm going to take my peacock blue, kind of put that over here. Add that to the greens here. And a touch of this burnt umber. A little turquoisey green. It could be any color you want though, really, seriously. And it got a little too loose. I'm going to go back in and mix up some more paint. See, and then some yellow, peacock blue, more peacock blue, and a little bit burnt umber. And there's my green. I'm going to use a filbert brush. I don't know if I talked about that. I think I did in the beginning, yes. So why I like this brush, it's a small filbert brush too, by the way. It's a number 8. Add a little more water to that paint. Just because of the marks it can make. Now you can see me holding it and how I do it. So you can hold it this way, make little skinny lines, or you can go and push down and pull back. See that? I'm just going to make those really cool like leaves. I might add a little more bright green to that. And I'd like to water it down, make it lighter. See, I'm just making those little half leaves. They kind of look like olive leaves. Just kind of pushing down and pulling back, crisscrossing it and grabbing the different greens. I might add a little brown. This is the fun part. Can go up here and add some Prussian blue with this dark green in here. And that's dry, so I'm going to have to add some more water. But you see? This is how we do this. We crisscross some of the greens. Now you can see this dry brush mark because there's not enough water. I kind of want it a bit more smooth, so I'm going to go add more water. Just like that. Again, a little more on the blue side. Gonna add a little more peacock and then water this down. So a little more turquoisey. There are new, and then there's another thing, you can just go back over some of these. See how they're crisscrossing? A pale dusty kind of gray green, so I made the green here. I'll grab some neutral tint. And see, I made that color up here. Again, make it a little more wet, add some more water to my brush. And I'll take this and hold it aside and go down, and then I can make the leaves. You can hold it this way too. See? You get the nice rounded, look at that beautiful rounded leaf. Very pretty, right? That's why it's fun to experiment with different brushes. Now I had out here a little fern. I'm going to add a little more gray to this green. Grab the green again. I wanted like a gray green. Tap my paper towel, and I'll go up here. See, I use my pinky to guide, by the way. And I can go in here and I can add the little, so just make an easy fern, a little more water in my brush. Do the little lines and then little lines for the fern. Just a soft kind of fern flower. I'm grabbing more water. I want this gray tone to be really pretty, soft color. Just making that line and pushing the little lines off that little branch. Go back up here, fix that. Just has like a nice pretty look to it. Now I wish I kind of bent the fern a little more, but that's okay. It looks a little more natural if it was kind of wiggled or bent. Kind of looking a little stiff. I'll add some more of those color here. It's like a nice dusty kind of green. Now I really like that green. I'm going to add some of that crisscrossing my greens. See? Playing around, going over that yellow, orange. We're having fun here. You go back and grab some nice pretty green. Just by the way you hold the brush. And then you can get some dark green in here. Don't be afraid to play. The little crevices, you can add some nice dark greens. And here, and then there's that dusty green. Now I had this a lilac kind of thing happening here. I'm gonna go just put some greens around this. And there's just greens out here. And you can just add any kind of colored flowers too, by the way. See, I'm gonna just add some nice bright greens. Funky kind of little loose stems. You see how I'm just kind of wiggling my brush like this. Still using the filbert, by the way. And just making different kind of stems. Go back and add this one. When that dries, you can do some crisscross leaves. Make it more interesting. So for the lilac, I would just, you can use ultramarine blue. I'll take out some of this paint here. Ultramarine blue and some magenta, or this color I love, which is the Verdier blue and magenta. It just makes a pretty lilac color. See, there's that pretty purple. And we'll water this down. Really water this down because we want it really pale. The photograph has it really pale. This paper towel is really damp. I kind of like when it's damp because it just kind of makes a nice, easy way to put it. So now I'm just going to hold the brush and see, I'm just making these little marks. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. So kind of like little V's. V, 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 V with a little line. See that line and the little V's? Makes perfect little lilacs, don't you think? Just play with the brush. And I'll add some more out here. I don't want to get too dark. It actually should be even lighter, but it's going to dry later. And then there was out here, there was another kind of stem. While that's drying, can add all kinds of goodies. I'm still using this filbert. You know, can add some green. Now I'd wait till the lilac color dries, because if you start adding the greens, it's going to start to get muddy. And fill in the purple. Just kind of pushing the brush down, filling in the little cracks next to the pink. And if you want to put some more out here, you can. Just add a little more. Then you get a little deeper with the color. You can add some of the Verdier blue. Bleed that in there. Kind of next to the pink. Just a little bit on my brush. See, I'm kind of just tapping that in. Little tippy taps. I had the blue there, and I can go back in with the purple. You see that? And then we'll just start going back in here and adding in the different values of the things we wanted to brighten up, like the orange little kumquat-y things. See, I'm getting a little bit darker with the color tone. A little less water, a little more concentrated color. Could even get even more darker, but I'm not. I'm gonna keep it kind of light and bright. Same thing with our, you know, here, like I said, you don't have to get so technical because we already did that with the other ones. But if you want to play around with it and practice some more. And then here with the ranculis, we go in and add the deeper values in the little crevices that we left that were white. See, I'm going in there. I'm just going to go in here. I'm still using the filbert, by the way. But you can use the number 8. And I'm going to kind of keep this section a little bit darker than this section. A little more yellow, orange, get more blush kind of tones. See, I'm going back in here. We do want the section in here a little bit darker. We're just taking our time adding, like, so it looks like a ranculis. It's kind of a funky flower. And add the color in here. And then we'll do the same thing with this one out here. See how I'm doing it mostly dark on this one side? We could add in a nice shadow in a second. And while that's drying, you can play around with adding in some deeper values and these little pink flowers. Still using the ranculis. The filbert brush. See, I'm adding in another wash right on top of the one we did. Kind of in the center going outward with that pink. See that? Get even darker here. And we're just going to start filling in everything with our greens. All that goodness. You can get the darker green, just kind of filling it in here. Right? Just go right in between those crevices. You can add some Prussian blue. It doesn't have to be just green. Go right in here. I'm doing it very loose. I don't want it to be completely tight next to the flowers. I do want it to fill it in. I'm cleaning up my brush. And I'll just keep playing with adding in some of this, that dusty green again. And I can go back in here. You can put some dark green leaves. Put some leaves out here. I can twist this brush, you see? This is a filbert still. Twist it. Let's put them dark. I like those little marks like this. Grab that greenish gray color. Make those little leaves. Play around with this, guys. See how I'm just playing with brushes? And then movement. So I might have this drip down and then crisscross. All that fun stuff. You see that? So this is when you take the time, you go in with the, maybe like the number 8 long round. Grab some neutral tint or some dark greens and just kind of go around the little flowers that are kind of close to each other in here. You see this? I'm adding in some deeper colors. So that way the other flowers can really, especially these little pink pale flowers, they really pop if the green is right next to them. I'm gonna put a bunch of medium greens too. You don't have to just keep it all dark. Adding in some more green here. You see this? Take your time going around. And by now the lavenders should have dried and you can start to add some green in between where the stems were going. Or you could put the green in first and then add the purple. I'm just putting a little dash of like little green stems in here. Adding in some more green. Now you can water down the color, and this stuff is all dried. You can kind of just go right on top of that. See how I went right on top of those greens? You can do that as well. That's another trick. So it's like glazing. See, I'm going right over these and filling in the color. Going right over these, filling in the color. And then you can just fill in the color and go back over it and make some nice leaf marks. This one I wanted to actually show the stem. So I would have highlighted darkness around the stem, see? It's dark on each side, so you can see the stem connecting to the poppy. And I'll go in here carefully and add some darker color around those. Those should pop. But generally, I don't want to keep it too dark. I want to go and add some peacock blue. Kind of play around, adding the color in here. So we got the different greens. We got the turquoisey peacock blue. We've got this gray kind of green tone. Got the light greens in here, which I'll play with up here. Put just little dabs next to those flowers. I gotta finish up my poppy up here, and I'm just gonna play around with adding some more leaves and some stems. You can just fill in all the things that I gave you in the sketch. Now, keep in mind, when you have leaves that are behind the flowers and whatnot, you want to add some tones. When those dry, you can go back in and add some darker values of greens. See, I'm putting the darker green underneath that orange. You can add even darker. So it really pops. You see that? Under here too. We don't have any real leaves with veins, but you can always add them. Put some bigger leaves out here. We mostly have these small little wimpy leaves. Just a fun little exercise. And then you can go in here where the purple is. You can add a little bit deeper. I'm going to go in here. It's a little wet. Back over the little lilacs. Oh, we have our little fly friend again. And if it's just too light, you want to add some more purple tones, just go ahead and do that. If you want to add some purple flowers, little ditzy flowers up here, you know, I'm not going to follow every rule when I'm painting. I kind of go in intuitively and add some stuff. So here I'm adding in some purple tones, maybe a little ultramarine blue. I'll start to add a little here, just to highlight the lilac a little bit more. I know it's really super pale, but I can go in and add some color. It doesn't have to look exactly like what you see. All right, so we're gonna go in and pick, I'm gonna finish up the poppies like I showed you how I do all the little lines. I don't need to show you a million times. On the side one, you would do the same thing, but only different. I'm gonna just grab this. So from the edge here, you would go in here and make these little lines going inward, see? And then maybe a little bit darker on this side. I'm gonna connect that. Get a little bit darker, play around with that, and then the inside as well. That's the half one. And this gets a little bit dried lighter again, so you can go back in here again. You might have to do a couple passes of this just to get the color in there. To get that ronculus. See, and this one has dried light again. We want this like really bright and fun. I didn't want a super pale kind of floral. So you're just going to have to go back in all these areas if they dried super light, like in the orange. Mixing up some more orange. And you just kind of tweak it and go back in here. I'm adding some deeper orange. And up in here. I really wanted it nice and bright. Like I said, you don't have to do it that way, but that's what I wanted. So I'll just go in and add another value of the orange, which is just really concentrated, less water. All right, we go back in here. Same thing I told you about. Only here, because it's on its side, play around just a short little petal here. And then I'll go and add the yellow light green center, the dark green. Same thing here, the green and yellow center. And I'll go back in and I'll put the orange or pale orange. And the yellow one, now you can make a little orangey yellow with that. See, add a little yellow orange. See how I'm wiggling, the little lines coming in. You can feel a little push down and go in like that, push down and leave a little lines, push down. That's how I would do that. You can get even a little bit darker with some red mixed in with that yellow, make it a little more orange. But you want to keep it really bright. Some of it's really pale, so you might want to go back in. Just going to brighten up some of it. Squint your eye. I see there wasn't a poppy in this one, so I had to make it up. So you have to kind of figure in your own brain like where the shadows would be. So I'm thinking it's going to be mostly here on this side. So it's a little more yellow-orange. Then I'll go back in and I can add some more colors. And then we can just kind of wash in here. But it's not necessary, like I showed you before. We're going to be putting those other flowers on here. But if you want to just play around with, why not? Doing it again. All right. Now, one thing, if you got like mine right here, see how I got too dark? I can take some white gouache, I can mix it in with my green, see the yellow, peacock blue. Or if you have gouache, making a nice light green here, you go right on top of that and you just brighten that up. It's like it never happened. So then you can make some nice little marks. Boom! Then you can see the greenery again. Same thing over here. Just add some gouache to your stuff and it pops right back up. See? And you can go in here and add some nice pretty greens. All that jazz. So I finished up all that stuff. And you can add the white gouache, like highlight to your little poppy, you know. Maybe on your, if you made too much, like this is a little bit dark, I can go back in here and add some highlight with the gouache. It's such a great medium that comes in handy with watercolor. So we have our poppies, right? We're going to cut them out. You're going to cut around all the edge that you painted, and if it's still white in the edge, you can just go ahead and add some paint to it, or just leave it a little white edge. Doesn't really matter. See, I'm cutting this whole out. Yeah. I'm not going to show you both because then again you'll be so bored watching me cut a flower. So you cut the flower out. Now where there were little creases in the flowers, see, look right in here, the lines, I'm going to cut in here and then just a little slit next to it. So it's a little slit. So you cut in here. This one you can just leave like that. You don't have to make this special little slit, but this one maybe over here, cut in here. So it's a little slit. Okay, this is my big old grandiose plan. I'm going to do another one in here because it's, you want to cut into all the little lines. Okay. Go all the way down to the center. And you're going to kind of bend them. Now if you have a glue gun, actually I'm going to go here and add a little bend so it bends nicely. And that's why you put the one color underneath it. So we have like a 3D kind of painting. Is that cool? So I'm going to cut the both of them out and see how, if you, now you see that this is lifted up. On the bottom one, you can go back under it and you can add some deeper colors because you feel like maybe when this one goes on top, it's going to be too light underneath. So let me just go back in here and I'll add some, look at that, it's a really bright pink. It doesn't really matter. See, when you place it on top, it really pops. So you might want to go back in here and really fill in that pink and the orange one. So I'm going to fill in both. I'm going to cut the other one out and I'm going to glue it down and show you how it looks. So guys, I just kind of taped it down for all intensive purposes, but look how cool that is, right? I would play with doing this on a bunch of them. And you can put it in a shadow box frame. So what do you think, huh? Was that a cool idea to play with today? And I showed you how to do the poppies, really loosely painted and everything else. And just kind of just made these little simple strokes with leaves. Now I've got my Princeton 8 back again. And you can just do some little wiggles. I always love to add little marks. Little wiggle jiggles. Just play around. You know, lots of fun, lots of movement. Woo! Woo! Right? All that fun stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into what I can show you on my Patreon. If you're ever interested in it. People often wonder what the tutorials are kind of like. This, like I said, is an older one. The newer one's a little bit different. But you get a kind of feel for how much longer it is, more extensive it is, etc., etc. So I hope you had a fun time checking it out. And like I said, you can cancel anytime, you join anytime. Take care and happy painting!